You're watching Busted. I am Afrida Rahman Ali. It is very widely known that a very small population, 1% population of India's rich own bulk of 40% of India's wealth. Now, this is a report that came out a couple of years ago, and this raised eyebrows on how very unequal is the wealth distribution in this country. But there is a myth that needs to be busted. The myth is that if you tax the rich, the trickling down effect to the poor suffers, and therefore taxing the rich is not a good idea. But here I will establish for you and bust that myth to show you why taxing the rich is still more important in order for the wealth to trickle down to the rest of the needy population. So let's get started with the numbers. I have them right in front of me here. Take a look at this. Since 2000, the share of wealth owned by the top 1% has risen in 6 of the 10 countries listed in this particular graphic that I'm showing you here. The inequality gap is extremely high in Russia and Brazil, followed by, yes, India. Like I said, among the top 3 countries in this list. So take a look there. Russia in 2000, the rich owned 54.4% of the population, the top 1%. And 2021, that figure has gone up to 58.6%. In Brazil, year 2000, 44.2% of the total wealth was owned by the top 1% of the population. It has gone up to 49.3%, which means 50% of the total wealth of this country is owned by the top 1% of the population. What is the figure in India? Again, it has gone up from 33.2% in the year 2000 to 40.6%. This is a trend that needs to be arrested. And if you look down to the other countries, India is followed by United States. Wealth disparity is high there as well. From 32.9 in 2000 went up to 35.1. Germany, 29.1 went up to 31.7. China, 20.7 goes up to 30.5. 30.5% of the wealth in China is owned by 1% of the population there. Canada, total wealth owned by 1% of the rich, it has gone down to 25. In France, it has gone down marginally from 25.5 to 22.3. In UK, it has gone down from 22.1 to 21.1. In Japan, it has gone down from 20.4 to 18.7. But these are still your top 10 countries where wealth disparity or wealth inequality is very high. What I'm also going to do for you is break down a little further when it comes to our country. Let's zoom in to the figures in India. Year 2021, top 1% of the population own 40.5% of the total wealth. The rest of the 99% population own about 59.5%. So it's like a 60-40 ratio. The top 1% own 40% of the total wealth. The rest of the 99% own the rest 60%. Now, the number of billionaires have gone up from the year 2020, 102 to 166 in the year 2022. So the rich are getting richer. Now look at the second richest person in the world, Mr. Gautam Adani, who's constantly in the news. Here are the figures released by Bloomberg Wealth Index. The wealth of Mr. Adani has increased in the year 2022 by 46%. India's 100 richest persons, if you look at it, the combined wealth is $660 billion. Now, this again shows the quantum of the wealth owned by the rich at the top. 2022, if you look at the GST collection from the bottom 50%, from the half of the population from the bottom is 64%. Bulk of the GST is coming from the bottom 50%, and only 4% GST is coming from the top 10%. That is why I said this will demonstrate for you how in policy making as well, there is something wrong which needs correction. Take a look at this as well. Again, breaking it down further for you, 2% of the wealth of Indian billionaires could actually fund the malnourished population in this country for 3 years. That's the kind of wealth that is being hoarded, which could be put to use for the betterment of this country. if additional 1% wealth tax is imposed, that can fund the National Health Mission for 1.5 years. It'll hardly hurt perhaps the rich to be taxed additionally 1%, but that will fund something as crucial as the National Health Mission for 1.5 years. 2.5% tax on the 100 billionaires, or if you put 5% tax on the top 10 billionaires, that could fund 150 million school dropouts in India. They could get back to school. Their education could be funded by this amount. It's a small increase in tax. It could lead to a big advantage for the poor and the underprivileged. So there I conclude my argument that the myth needs to be busted that the rich cannot be taxed further. There needs to be additional tax of at least 1 to 2% increase in taxing the wealthy in this country so that we can fund the other important projects. Thanks for watching. Busted.